Hello and welcome. What we're looking at in this series is a follow-up to the Teespring campaign. So in the previous series, we looked at and we talked about setting up our campaign inside Teespring and creating a basic design. But if you'll notice inside that campaign, I already had a t-shirt design, the zombie t-shirt. And so what I'm going to do in this series is I'm going to show you how to create your own, or you can also convert your own design into a shirt. So we'll take a different image. You can use text. You can use images. You can use even drawings, all sorts of different things. And I'll show you how to take those and create those in a couple of different design elements, put those together, and create an awesome looking t-shirt with them. So before we do that, we want to talk a little bit about vector basics. And we didn't really have to talk about this in the previous series because Teespring kind of handled all that for us. But whenever we get into doing our own design and creating our own images, creating our own text, we need to look at vector images a little bit. We need to look at vector images just a little bit. And the reason for that is because there's a big difference between a raster image and a vector image. And it's all going to depend on what your t-shirt looks like. So you have three main graphic types. You have a text or a type, which is all the text that you see on this screen, and that is vectorized. And then you also have vector art and raster art. What vector art is it uses mapping to keep the image sharp. It can be scaled, but it's not as detailed, and it's a huge file. What it does, as you can see over here on the right side of the screen, there's an image, and one is a vector, the one on the right is a vector, and then the one on the left is a raster image. And whenever you scale these up, this is what it looks like. So you can see that the raster art, the raster image, is just pixels. So whenever you zoom that up, it's going to look what we call pixelated. And this is what it's going to look like on your shirt as well. It's not going to look as detailed. But you can see over here on the right side, you can see it doesn't quite have the detail that the one on the left probably used to, but it can be scaled up and down. And most of the time, you're not going to notice on a vector image, especially if it is an unlimited color vector image, you're not going to notice that there's any detail missing. What you're going to notice is you can scale it up and scale it down without any loss in quality. So that's your biggest difference between a raster image and a vector image. A raster image is pixel dependent and it's locked in size. So once you create an image that's, let's say, 600 by 800 pixels, it's locked into that. Now you can scale it down. Images can always be scaled down, but you can't scale that image up without it looking like this pixelated image here on the right side of the screen, that left-hand image. And a raster art is always going to be a smaller file size. It's locked down, it's pixel dependent, so it's not going to be anywhere near as large. And we don't have to get into the nitty gritty of, what is mapping and all that kind of stuff. Really, all you need to know is a vector art is a huge file. It's going to be a much, much larger file, but it's going to keep your images crisp and clear. And so that's what we need for our t-shirt, because we need to be able to create them on a computer and then have them printed on a 2 feet or a 1.5 foot or however big your shirt is, depending on the size. We need that to be able to be scaled up without it looking pixelated, because if you print a shirt that looks like the left-hand image here, no one's going to buy it and nobody's going to like it. So that's raster art versus vector art. As far as design options, you have multiple colors. You have a single color, which is essentially black or white, or on or off is the way you can think of that. So if you use red as your single color, it's going to have red and nothing. So whenever you create an image and you make it a single color image, this is going to be the easiest and cheapest to print. So if you see, like, text is a great example of this. You're going to have just black text written on a white shirt. That's a single color. The other option is, if you'll remember in the t-shirt that I created, what I did is I essentially created a single color image out of a black and white grayscale image. And so the outline is really all you saw, and then I could change the amount of detail that you saw in the image. So a single color, you can think of it as on or off, 1 or 0. Now, multiple color, this is the most common for screen printing. Usually you're going to have 2 colors or 3 colors, 4, 5, 10. Something less than unlimited colors. And typically it's going to be 2, 3, 4, or 5. It's going to be somewhere in that. Now, A fancier design is going to be more expensive. The more colors you add to this, the more expensive the cost to print your shirt is going to be. But to create a good quality shirt, you're usually going to need multiple colors. Even in my single color example that I started out with in the Teespring campaign, I actually added multiple colors to make it stand out a little bit better. Now, you don't have to do multiple colors. You can do single color if you want, but multiple color kind of makes the shirt sell itself a little bit better, and this is why it's the most common. It's also relatively inexpensive to print a multiple color shirt. Now, Unlimited, on the other hand, Unlimited is really more of an iron-on design than a screen printing design. What that means is it's essentially you take an image that you print out of your color laser printer or your color inkjet printer, so it has all the colors you can imagine, and then you just kind of tack it on the shirt. Instead of a screen printing, it's kind of an iron-on design. That's what that means. It's very difficult and very expensive to do an unlimited color screen printing shirt. So that's why multiple color is usually the most commonly used, and usually 10 color is going to be the most expensive. That's usually going to be the most color you can have in your shirt, and that's why most people will do a 2 or 3 or 4 or a 5 color image shirt. You want to keep it basic if you're trying to keep your cost down. If you're trying to create a really nice high quality shirt with an image on there, then just know it's going to be a little bit more expensive to create. And you can see that represented over here on the graphic on the right side. You can see at the bottom you have a 24-bit depth, and you don't really have to worry about what that means, but you can see a 24-bit color depth, and then you can see a 16-bit depth, and then an 8-bit depth. So you can see that the 8-bit depth, instead of having such a smooth transition from white to the colors as the bottom one, you can see that it kind of goes in increments. And so the more colors you take out, the more increments you're going to see. And as far as creating our t-shirts, you have a couple of different options, and these are super, super powerful. Now, the highest cost and probably the most commonly used is going to be Photoshop. There's also Pixelator on the Mac. There's a couple of different high-priced items like that that are image editors. Photoshop is really the industry standard, but it does have such a high cost. Even on the subscription that Adobe has, it's still, for the program alone, it's still $50 a month. So that's out of the price range of most people, unless you're using Photoshop for your business or for something else. You're a graphic designer, or you want to take this t-shirt campaign to the next level and make it super, super powerful. Then you're probably going to want to get Photoshop. But to starting out, learning how to do this, I highly recommend that you not get Photoshop. I recommend that you use one of the bottom two options because Photoshop has such a high entry point. Now, it can run on Windows and Mac, so it doesn't matter which operating system you're running. Now, the other option for installing it on your computer is going to be GIMP. And there's a whole bunch of different free editors out there. GIMP is really kind of the industry standard for free, and it does also run on Windows and Mac. Now, the other one, the one that is so awesome and so powerful, is Pixlr.com. And this is a free online tool. It doesn't require an install. It runs inside your browser. Safari, Firefox, Google Chrome, whatever browser you're using, it'll run inside of it. And it's super, super powerful. It has all the same capabilities as GIMP. Not quite the capabilities as Photoshop, but again, it's a free tool. So it's going to have everything that you're going to need. And that's what I'm actually going to do the demo in because it is so powerful. Pixlr is going to have the main options that you're going to need, and those main options are going to translate over to GIMP and over to Photoshop as well.